This is the Paperclipping Roundtable, the scrapbooking audio show that's designed to inspire, educate, and entertain you.
You're listening to episode 219, recorded August 26, 2014. Acrylic Block Behind It.
The Paperclipping Roundtable is brought to you by BigPictureClasses.com. Get 10% off any class with a coupon code you'll find at paperclipping.com/bigpicture.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Paperclipping Roundtable. I'm your host, Noelle Hyman from paperclipping.com, where we have scrapbooking video tutorials along with this show. And we have our producer, Izzy, from izzyvideo.com. Hey, Izzy.
Hello.
I hear you've been recently hanging around iTunes looking at any new reviews we've had in the recent, I don't know, last year or so.
Yeah, we need more iTunes reviews, but maybe we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Is this a cue for me to tell that story?
I don't know. I just remembered we had talked about how funny it was that maybe we should share it, but maybe this isn't the time.
I'll just share it real quick. One of the pieces of feedback that somebody left, they said, it's a husband and wife team that hosts this show. So they listen, they heard that much for sure. And then they said, but my big issue is that during the opening of every single show, the husband corrects the wife at some point about how to do the introduction or whatever.
This is not something either of us have a clue what they're talking about.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is.
I don't know.
Anyway, I don't know. We lost a star because of that, so I apologize. I would really like 5 stars versus 4 stars, and I'll do my very best. I mean, I'm the one that stands corrected this time for sure.
I mean, we do like to tease in the beginning.
We do a lot of playful banter, that's for sure.
I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But the other one was that we laugh too much.
Oh, yes. There was yes. They gave us 3 stars.
Too much laughing.
They said, other podcasts take the time to edit out all the extra laughing. You guys should do that too. And I'm like, oh man, I think we lost a listener there. I
think it's okay to lose listeners who don't like laughing.
Yeah, and you know what the funny thing is? The guy that left the review was the guy, and he said, I download this show for my wife who likes to listen to this, but I've listened to it a couple times myself, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave the review, right? So he's not even like a listener. He's downloading it on behalf of somebody else. And I think there should be a rule that you can't leave a review unless you're the actual end user.
Yeah. How many stars did that one give us?
It was like 3 stars or 2
3 stars for too much laughing.
Yeah, too much laughter. I don't know. We have a good time.
It's funny.
I guess maybe we're doing the show for ourselves.
Yeah, we do. We are. We we get a kick out of that stuff. But in the meantime, Izzy was thinking, well, maybe we should ask the audience to go leave us more reviews.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you've listened to it more than just this once so far, don't judge us based on this show so far, because we haven't even introduced our guests yet. And so, but anyway, we'll put a link in the show notes so that you can leave a review if you like. All right, Noelle, who's on the show with us?
We have a multi-international, can you say multi-international? We have a multicultural episode today. We'll start from our guest who's like out there, Allie Edwards in Oregon. Hey, Allie.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
You got your whole new brand and website and practically a new business going on now.
Yeah, just a big old evolution. I mean, it's the same. It's still the same, but it's
amazing. It's beautiful.
Thanks, dude.
Well done.
Yeah, no, and that really is the Studio Calico web people. The web team that they have there is really amazing, great user interface designer. I feel like that they were really thoughtful in how they went about it, and also thoughtful to what I wanted it to be and what I hoped it would be. So it's really exciting. Yeah. That's just cool. Phase 1. So phase 2 is coming beginning of September. That'll have the shop and the classrooms will be up too. So
I know you have 2 different subscriptions people will be able to get. And it's one of them has to do with a stamp set and content and like a community revolving around the monthly stamp set.
Yes. So yeah, so this is the biggest change for me is adding in these 2 different subscriptions. So one is the stamp subscription, which is 4x6 stamp. And then the other one is going to be, it's called a story kit, and it's going to be a a physical product subscription, and both of them will have access to content each month. And I'm really basing that content off the same kind of structure as my Hello Story workshop that ran at Big Picture. So it's this idea of taking a theme each month and kind of going deep into the theme. What kind of stories can you tell with it? You know, so it won't be themes that are like, oh, I only have one story to tell about this. Like, it'll be ones that we're going to look at from all kinds of different angles. So
Cool.
I think for me, it's the education piece that really continues to be the most important. So I'm super excited to be having products that actually have an education support to them, and a message board and a gallery and that sort of thing for each of the months.
That's awesome.
Too. So yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good. That sounds like a good plan for you and the way you think and what you do and stuff.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that that's really like, it feels good to me. It feels valuable, and it allows me to do what I like to do, which is that the additional thought going in, you know, challenging my brain and what are different ways that we can think about this, and what are all the different stories that we can tell about each one of these themes. So yeah, it's exciting.
I know the stamp subscription starts in September. When does the other one start?
The other one, I can't remember exactly when we're releasing more details. There'll be some sort of a pre-order, but it actually won't come until January. So January will be the first month of when that's actually available, but we'll have some sort of a pre-order set up that I think is coming. We don't know. I looked over at Katie. I'm like, later this fall, the pre-order for the other one.
Is this a partnership with Studio Calico? Like, they didn't buy Allie Edwards,
no,
right?
They did not buy me. Not for sale. No, it's basically, it is kind of a partnership. I mean, it's a partnership it's kind of like I'm hiring them in a way. So I've hired them to do background stuff for me. So they are handling manufacturing, they're handling all the web stuff. I'm designing the products and they're manufacturing them. So it's a partnership in that way. So basically I've hired them to handle the things that I don't want to do myself. You know, I don't want to ship kits out of my house. I don't want to develop new relationships, like go out and find manufacturers in China. Like, that's just personal choices that I've made for the kind of lifestyle that I want to lead. So that's really how does that make sense?
Yes. Okay. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I love your use of video on the new site.
I know.
It's just gorgeous.
Yeah, great.
That was the UI, the user interface. I think that's what it's called, right? The UI designer. That was her idea from the beginning, was to have these really large, you know, like the bigger videos on the main page. But then each of those project videos, we all thought that was really important to kind of give people a really easy look at what each one of those projects are. And Colin Karchner Liz Karchner's husband, was the videographer that we chose. And he really did an amazing job, I think, of capturing what I am all about and what I've been about. And it was really fun to have him here.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
He risked his life as an embedded reporter living in your house for a little while.
Totally, yeah. He didn't live here. I don't want to give anybody the wrong idea. He didn't live here. He stayed at a hotel. But yeah, he was here for a couple days, and we just, you know, he kind of came around with me while we did regular life stuff, and sat in the office here and did the voice over, the on camera, the face on camera shots, and then he took it home and put it all together. So he did a really great job.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. It's awesome.
Yeah, I feel excited. Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'm sure it'll come up a little bit more here as we chat.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So we'll introduce our other guests. Speaking of Studio Calico, we have one of the creative team members with us all the way from Singapore. We have Lena Low. Hey, Lena.
Hey, Noelle.
How are you? How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. It's midnight here now. But I'm really excited to be here. So I'm really staying up. I need to go through this. So thank you for inviting me on this show.
Thank you for staying up with us. So you mentioned earlier you've got your coffee, so hopefully everything will be okay.
Yes, it will.
Lena, you do like the project life stuff that Studio Calico puts together. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
So I think back in 2012, I received an email and they're asking me whether I like to join their Project Live team. So that's when it first started. I was very surprised receiving that email, and of course I said yes right away. And then I think this year has been my second year. I'm still loving Project Life very much, and it's keeping me on track, and I've been very disciplined. Actually, I started off in 2001, but halfway through, I failed quite miserably. I couldn't cope with updating my spreads because of my job. I do travel a lot within this Asia Pacific region. And getting into Studio Calico team, it helps me keep me updated on my project life, and I really do enjoy documenting my week by week. It's documenting my family, my work when I travel. You know, it's capturing all the details of every day of my life.
So what was it that helped you to be able to start keeping up with the project life? Was it because you were now on a design team and you had those deadlines, or was it because the projects or the products from Studio Calico made it easier?
I think the kit itself made it a lot easier. When I first started, I was a little bit overwhelmed because I have a whole lot of stash in my room, and I have no idea where I was heading to, and I spent
Okay, did we lose Lena?
She's good at the dramatic pause.
Lena, I don't know if you can hear us, but we cannot hear you. We lost you.
So
we'll
just to let the audience know, this might happen periodically. We've been having some issues with the bandwidth, the connection with her. So it's probably because she's all the way on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So do we just wait for her to pop back on?
Yeah, let's wait for her to pop back on. But in the meantime, let's move over to...
We've got Debbie Hughes on all the way from Scotland. Hey, Debbie.
Hi, Noelle.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me today.
I love having all these accents on the show.
And the people that go along with them.
No, it's just all about the accents.
Dang it, I just corrected you. Man, we just lost another star.
That's another star gone off the iTunes.
And here comes the laughter, too. So, Debbie, you are on the design team for Simon Says stamp.
That's correct. Yes, I work with their exclusive product range, so it's their own brand products.
Their own brand.
They're releasing them on a regular basis throughout the year. We've just got one coming up in September, and I'm happily getting lots of lovely parcels sent over with all the new goodies in there. It's really exciting.
How often? So you get a parcel from them once a month?
Not once a month. It just depends on when they're releasing new product.
Okay.
It tends to come more with the holidays. So we've just had some teacher product come through for the start of the new year, the new school year, and we've got the Stamptember product, which is all for there's lots of Christmas and Halloween, and sort of covering the holidays towards the end of the year, as well as some of more general sets for birthdays and other celebrations.
Oh, fun. So for those who don't know Debbie, she makes beautiful cards. I love them. Yeah, they're gorgeous. Do you know your about page or some page that I saw on your website said you also design, you're on the team for Clearly Besotted stamps. Is that still current?
That is, yes. They're a British company. Stephanie Wincott is down in London, but the products are available either from Stephanie all over the world, or they're also available in some online shops as well, such as Simon Says Stamp.
Okay, nice. Oh, you were going to ask a question?
No, I was just wondering. My screen went dark, and I was thinking, I haven't lost you as well. You haven't lost both of us, but I think it's just I just needed to refresh the screen before you disappeared.
Oh my goodness! Hopefully, we'll all make it to the end of the show. Izzy, have we gotten Lena back yet?
Lena?
Yes, I'm back, Noelle. I'm so
Yay!
sorry I lost you.
No, it's not your fault. That's okay. We just moved on.
Okay.
Yeah, so you were saying, I think when we left off, you were talking about how the kits have been really helpful. The Studio Calico Project Life kits have been so helpful for you.
Oh, yes. I think the kit was put together very well. So it cuts down a lot of time of me using my own stuff. So every month when I receive the kit, I will just spread out my kit and I will use whatever that comes in the kit. And it helps me, when I used to put up a spread, it will take me about 2 to 3 hours. And 90% of the time is actually sorting out the products. So with the Studio Calico kits, I managed to complete a full spread of 12 by 12 within an hour or sometimes less.
Wow.
So yes, and
Nice.
it's really well coordinated. I don't have to worry about the colors, what type of embellishments, the cards, So I really do enjoy using the kits when it arrives every month.
Yeah. All right. Izzy will have links to Lena's blog and a single link to Lena's blog, a single link to Debbie's, and then also to Allie's website. So I recommend if you're at your computer, take a look at these ladies' blogs and sites while we're talking, or you can wait till the end of the show. Definitely go back and take a look because they're gorgeous, good stuff on there. All right, Izzy, should we jump into the mailbag before we move on to the rest? I guess we'll move on to the mailbag.
Yes, here we go. So this piece of mail is from Susie, who says, picking up on the discussion on journaling at the end of the show, and I will totally be sending myself postcards for my next trip. I have long felt that my pick of the week, should I ever be lucky enough to be a guest, would be the book Globetrotting, How to Write Extraordinary Travel Journals and Still Have Time to Enjoy Your Trip by Dave Fox. This book offers different journaling methods, inspiration, and ways to fit it into the trip. Not only do the tips in the book help enhance your travels by helping be more mindful about your trip, having some good journaling from the trip is a huge help if, like me, you don't get around to scrapping your trip until your memories have grown a little fuzzy. Just wanted to share. Hope someone finds this helpful. Shoot, now there's no reason to ever have me as a guest.
She shared her one big tip.
Okay, well, I mean, she does have a good point. If that's all she has, no, I'm just kidding. That's not all she has now.
What was the book called? Globetrotting?
It's called Globetrotting, How to Write Extraordinary Travel Journals
That sounds awesome.
and Still have time to enjoy your trip.
Wait, this says globe jotting.
Oh my gosh.
See, now I'm correcting you.
Globetrotting.
We just lost another star. Actually, you probably gained a star because you
I
correct
corrected
me.
you. Globe jotting.
Yeah, globe
I see it.
jotting. Sorry,
based on
my bad.
globe trotting.
Okay.
So they're taking globe trotting and making it about writing about the globe trotting.
That's very good. Thank you for noticing that, Noelle,
You're
because
welcome.
I'm a bad reader. I think let's find the most illiterate person on the show and have him read all the mail.
You are not.
That's all I'm gonna say.
No, you do a lot of reading and you do a good job. But yeah, I think that was, we did a travel episode last week, and that I thought it was a good pick to share.
We got some good feedback on that episode. Yeah, we did. So thanks everybody who left us the great feedback and comments. And I know in that episode we expressed our concern over not getting a lot of comments in the previous episode. But then it's funny. I was thinking about that this week, and I listen to a lot of podcasts. And you know how many of them I comment on? Zero. I never comment on these podcasts, even though we're like, nobody liked our show because we got almost no comments. And maybe we shouldn't panic. I guess there's people still listening.
But a jump of people jumped in, and it now has a decent amount of comments.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's what we do, I guess. We whine.
We whine until we get noticed. Give us some feedback.
So I want to take a moment and talk about our sponsor, Big Picture Classes, before we go into the meat of the show. Angie Lucas, who's been a guest many times here at the Roundtable, has a workshop starting live next month in September called Quizapalooza. And by the way, September is just a few days away, believe it or not. So she's a journaler. She's a writer, actually. But she's all about finding fun ways to journal. You don't very often, if ever, you don't very often see like enormous amounts of journaling on covering pages and pages for Angie. She does these fun ways to journal. And this one's called Quizapalooza. It says Q&A your way to fast, fabulous journaling. And so it's all about taking quizzes, and answering questions to get your journaling done. So I think she's really good at making it easy for people who are not. That's not the strength that maybe you have for scrapbooking. It's 5 weeks. It's a 5-week interactive workshop that makes it simple to share meaningful stories in your scrapbooks, your journals, your project life albums, even if you're just blogging or doing some other social media stuff. You can use this for that too, if maybe you're not the biggest scrapbooker. Let's see. Angie has curated more than 160 questions to help you capture fascinating tidbits about your life. So if you want to check out this class with Angie, it's a 5-week class. Like I said, there are 16 printable quizzes and 5 colorful lined journaling cards available and all kinds of stuff. If you want to find out more about this class and what comes with it and how it works, we ask you to do it a specific way. Izzy, what should they do?
All you have to do is go to paperclipping.com/big picture. Once you go there, you'll find an affiliate link. Please click on that link, and that'll take you over to go shopping over there. Also, you'll find a coupon code that you can use to get 10% off your whole purchase. So once again, that's paperclipping.com/big picture. We'll also have a link to that page in the show notes for this episode, just like we do for every episode. Thanks, everybody, for using that link, too. Appreciate it.
All right. So I'm curious if the panel is ready to jump into the discussion topic. Maybe we should do a head count, make sure everybody's still here. Do we have Lena?
Yes.
All right. Very good. And Debbie, you're still there?
I'm still here.
Okay. And I heard Allie giggle a little bit. So
Yeah, what's new?
Yeah. We're all good. So somebody mentioned in our forum that a lot of us we don't scrapbook in groups. A lot of the audience and those of us who socialize with other scrapbookers online, because we don't know other scrapbookers and don't scrapbook with other people. And so we seldom see actual layouts like in the physical real world, and what they look like, or the cards or the projects that people do. Most of everything that we see in terms of paper crafting and scrapbooking is online. And so the photographing of those projects and the post-processing has become a really important part of scrapbooking and paper crafting for us. So, and the thing is, though, it's not easy. Like, even the best, from my point of view, even those who I think are super, super good at photographing their layouts, when I see them in person, I'm kind of blown away, because there's so much more that, to it that the camera just doesn't pick up.
You're talking about like when you go to CHA and you're going through the trade show booths or whatever, and then you see somebody's layouts in person, you're like, whoa, it looks a lot.
Yeah,
it is absolutely not the same.
It's not.
No.
So
and
what's
I
the
don't
deal?
think you can. I don't think you can replicate it. I mean, they're just. I don't think it. Yeah, just like you said, it doesn't matter how good of a photographer you are. And this, I mean, I think photographing layouts and project it's hard. Like all the time, I'm like, what? It's like it's one of my most frustrating pieces of the process for me personally. I'm always like, wow. And some of it's just because I think there's some skills that I probably lack, but at the same time, yeah, it's never the same. And I know for me, that's why, like, anytime I ever do in-person teaching, I always bring as many examples as I can. I bring albums, I bring mini books, so that people can see what it's like in real life. And one of the things I think that always comes up is how, like, imperfect pieces of it are too. How, something might not be sticking in exactly the right place, or that there's mess ups in the journaling, or things that you may look over online, or you might see it, but that when you see it in real life, it's just so much more real.
It's more of a human experience or something. There's like more intimate to see it and feel it in person, right?
The tactile piece of it, I think, is huge.
Yeah. I mean, because I always thought you, Allie, take gorgeous photos and of your layouts, and you do a good job. But when I saw your album in person, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I could love these pages even more. There was something wonderful. And I noticed also Dina Wakely, she came to my house once and brought some of her art journals, and she's got such colorful art journals, but I couldn't believe when I actually saw them in person how much more vibrant and pure those colors were than the bright, vibrant version of them I'd been seeing online. And I just, I love them. I know when I look through, so most of my layouts, I tend to see them, I mean, you guys all might be the same way. I see them mostly on my computer, way more than I'm looking through them in my albums. Like once I make them, put them in the album, I tend to not see them again for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And there's all kinds of pages where, as I'm going through my stuff online and looking at the photographs of my layouts, I'm like, I don't really like that one. I don't like that one. And then once I do actually start going through my album again, I'll see those and go, oh my gosh, I love that. And I love that page. I didn't remember liking it because the image a lot of times just doesn't represent. Debbie, do you have that with your cards? Do you feel like you capture the cards just the way? I mean, are you better at it than we are? Is what I'm trying to ask.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was so relating to Ali when she was saying it's one of the most frustrating parts of trying to blog is sometimes I'll make cards and I'll stack them up and I'll keep putting them in a corner and then think, oh, I've got to get around to doing some photographs so I can actually blog them. And I definitely find it both rewarding when it goes well and frustrating when I can't get what I want. And I do make it quite difficult for myself. And I keep wondering why, you say about missing things when you've got the photograph. I do a lot of white cards with white embellishments, and I often put it on a white background and it's all this white on white. And I'm sort of thinking, why do I do this? I'm just making life difficult. And I find certainly some of those uses are very difficult to keep the detail and the impression of dimension that's actually there when you're actually taking the photographs. It's certainly a trials and tribulation time at times.
And white on white can be so pretty, and sometimes that shows up just right on the photos, and sometimes you just can't get it to really look.
I've tried all different times of day or different places, and you're sort of thinking, one day it'll work and the next day it won't, and yes, it's something that I really enjoy doing. But at the same time, when I'm setting up to take a picture, it's sort of like, is this going to work? Is it going to work today? Is it going to be a good day?
Well, one of my big problems is the cameras can't pick up color ranges the way that our eyes can. And so I'll have in my photos, usually the photos end up looking really contrasty, like the blacks look really black. If I want the items on the layout to look right, or if I'm like, okay, wait, that photo just looks too contrasty now in the image. So then I try to adjust it so that the photo will look good. And then the rest of the layout is too washed out. And that's a frustrating thing for me. Or maybe this version of pink looks great with this orange that I've chosen in real life, but the way that the camera's picking up, the colors aren't jibing now.
Yeah,
I go for good enough. Because I've been in that same place where you're sitting there and you're trying to adjust it, and I don't want to spend my time post-processing. Like, that's just not, I don't want to do it. And so it's the same thing. I'm like, okay, seriously, this is enough time. Like, I got to be done. Just kind move on.
Yeah.
And for me, it ends up being more, and I think we're going to get into talking about this later too, is like issues with the aperture. And I got a story to tell you about something I learned related to that. And, that like all things are turning out way too blurry on the sides. And I'm like, and then finally, I just am like, you know what? It's good enough. Like, people are going to get the idea, like I have however many thousands of projects that are on there. Like, it's going to be good enough. Like, that's where I end up, but I still don't like it.
We're our own worst critic.
I know.
Yes, that's true too. Yeah.
It is. I mean, it's frustrating for me to decide I don't like a layout because I've been looking at the digital image of it. But then when I find it in real life, I'm like, oh, I really like that. I wish people could see that version, the actual thing. Lena, I look at yours, you do the project life pages, which are very hard to photograph, and your whites are just so beautifully white. How do your photos of your layouts compare to the actual things?
I would have to say I get frustrated a lot of times. As you know that Singapore is a tropical island, so we get a lot of bright sunny days throughout the year. And, when I look at my actual spread, when I take pictures of them, but it turns out to be like the problem that you're having with the contrast, when the picture is dark, it's really too dark. When I try to edit it, I try not to spend too much time fixing the photos. I just tweak a little bit here and there, and as long as it looks decent enough, and then I will just upload to my blog or to Studio Calico Gallery. I would have to say that about between 80% to 90%, it would look around the actual project.
So you're saying 80 to 90. Are you still there, Lena?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay. You're saying about 80 to 90% of the time it looks pretty close to the actual thing?
Correct. But I would have to say the actual thing will have a more vibrant colors compared to the photographs that I've taken.
Okay.
So I'm still learning the rope of getting to know my camera. Even though I have my camera for the last 4 years, I'm still reading the manual actually. So sometimes I'm reading up a lot of blogs and photography websites, try to get more tips, and then I will play around with my camera. But as you know now, using the SLR, I think I've only taken it out to photograph my projects. Most of the time I will use my iPhone to actually take my day-to-day photos. So I'm
Lena,
not
I
using
think you
my...
do a good job.
Uh-huh.
Oh, thank you, Ellie.
Yeah,
But
I do. I
can do
think
better.
yours are always look really, I always feel like yours are always look great, bright, pretty, nice whites, good contrast. I want to know what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do too.
I think I have to thank the weather here. Like I mentioned earlier, we get a lot of sunshine most of the days throughout the year, except for occasional rain when the dark clouds comes in. So yeah, we are pretty blessed with the weather here. So we don't have winter, we don't have autumn. I know that winter at your site there, it will get a bit gloomy. And, I've read a lot of people commenting on the blogs and the forums that, sometimes they wish they have a better light source, So most of my pictures that are bright is actually, I have to thank the weather here.
Yeah, I mean, I think about that too because it's really sunny where I live, but I do tend to find that a lot of my sun comes on my pages unevenly. Like I've in this house, I've looked for the spot that I think is the most even, but I still find that it's not even. I have to figure out how to find an even spot. But when I on a rare day that it's gray, I'm like, oh, I can't shoot a photo today of my layouts. And then I think about you, Ali, and Debbie. You're in Scotland.
I was going to say we get a lot of grey days.
Yeah, same here, Oregon, same thing.
So how do you deal with that?
I have a tripod. And I find that for me, it means that no matter how much light's actually coming into the room, that if it's on the tripod, then it can just sit there and take in as much light as I can give it. And that helps me. I found that to be really helpful to actually getting something correctly exposed, because in the winter here, it is so dull and grey an awful lot of the time. It's not a very good advert for Scotland, is it?
I know. I mean, but I look at your cards and I would never think, oh, it's dull and gray there, because the whites again are really beautiful. So you're saying you put it on a tripod so you can, is that so you can do a slow shutter speed so that it takes a slow?
Yeah.
Okay, and that brings in more light. Okay.
Yeah, because sort of without sort of moving up ISO settings and things like that, otherwise it would get. You just really struggle to get the correct amount of light in if you were hand holding or anything. So by putting it on a tripod, it means I can sort of forget about having to keep it stable and try and get as much light into the camera as possible.
Yeah,
that's what I need to do. I need to do that in the winter. I think I forget about that usually because I'm in a hurry. So I'm like, oh, we got to go in there. And we have outside my office, I have this little like secondary office, which is where we shoot most of our stuff on, and I'm saying we as Katie, my assistant, and I, on a white table. And there's definitely like a specific time of day where you can do it. And then other times it's like, it's too blue or it's too dark or, those sorts of things. So I should set a tripod up in there.
So you're doing it on a table, Ali?
We do it on a table. We have a white table and then we stand on a chair usually, or I don't always have to stand on the chair, but Katie needs to stand on the chair because I'm taller than she is. But I've seen lots of people that are just shooting it on the floor with like a white foam core board or something, foam board sort of thing. And we might try that too. We haven't done that. We just shoot on the table because it's there.
Debbie, yours, you're doing cards, so you kind of set up your.
Yeah, I've got a slightly different angle for the taking the photographs. As perhaps when you're doing your scrapbooking spreads, you're looking down more, whereas I can I stand my card up and you're getting that sort of more vertical aspect to it. So,
how do you get it to lean? I know you stand your card, like, is it just because it's, now that I'm thinking about it, it's folded so it kind of stands up on its own, doesn't it?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes an acrylic block just behind it if it's sometimes if you just want it to stay still and it's just sort of moving on its own accord, I pop an acrylic block behind it, and that'll just keep it in place. So yeah, it's certainly a different angle, which means that I sometimes have to think about sort of what's going on behind. So I set up on my table, and I also put up a piece of board behind as well. So my room's a bit messy at times, and I want to create a distraction-free picture. So I'll put something down on the table and something up behind, and then pop my project there, and maybe a couple of things in the background, which don't distract too much, but give a little bit of interest.
So like when you say sometimes you'll put a board behind, is this like a wooden board, or what kind of board are you talking about?
Well, I've used pattern paper in the past, just popped up, and then I moved to some foam board. I twisted my husband's arm the other day, and I actually got him to, I'm not sure what you call it, but we call it like paneling. Is it beadboard you call it?
Yeah. He's nodding his head, yes.
Strips sort of stuck together, and that creates a nice white background, but it's got the stripes in there.
And then you always take something like I think I saw some thread spools maybe.
Yeah, I like to pull some colour from the card or the project and try and incorporate that. So if the card is, hello, are you still there?
Yeah, we're
sorry,
still.
My computer went on me again. Sorry, it's confusing me. So I like to pull some colours from the card. So I've got lots of twine that I like to use anyway, and if I've used a piece of twine on the card, I'll often pop the twine spool there, which just I think it accents the colors that you're using, and it's not totally plain. I like to have a lot of white space around my card in the same way that I would put white space on a project. I don't like the card to take up the whole of the screen, so I'll put the card maybe as you would with thinking about sort of on a third. And then put other things into the picture just to create interest, but hopefully without drawing the eye too much from what you want people to look at.
Is it ever hard for you trying to figure out what to put in the background and what little item to put next to the card, or do you just grab stuff off the table like the string?
I just tend to grab stuff. There's a few things I'll often use. I find that glass works quite well behind. It's sort of you get nice reflections through it, but it doesn't really draw the attention too much, So I've just got a few bits and bobs that I'll often just sit on a shelf, and I'll just think, oh yeah, that and that, and try and get them there. I try not to think too much about it, but well, hopefully it still looks good.
Yeah. Oh, it does. I mean, the ones I've seen have been gorgeous. I've done something similar when I used to do a lot of mini books. I've never really done cards, but I've done mini books, but I've never put them on a shelf, though. I like that idea. What I've done is put them on a table facing a window, and then I let the background of the room, like I'll do the depth of field, so the background of the room is blurred out, but you can see some lights and colors. And then I put the mini book, like you said, at the 1/3 line, and then let the background of my room that's kind of way behind it be the background. But
I always worry that the back of my room would be too messy.
That's what the depth of field is for. No, but I do look at angles so that you don't get some weird thing popping out in a weird way from the card that distracts. It makes it like you think it's part of the card maybe, or but yeah. So Lena, you do probably some of the hardest things to photograph, and Ali, so do you, and we can compare how you and Lena do things maybe. But the project life layouts. How do you shoot your project life layouts?
Go ahead, Lena.
I used to shoot on the floor. I would lay my 2 pieces of huge white art paper, and I will place the two two spreads of 12 by 12. But there was once when I came down from the wooden stool that I used to stand, I walked away with a stool and I slipped and I fell. So I had a very bad. It slammed on my last 3 fingers on my right hand, and I couldn't hold the camera for a couple of weeks. So and then I think my husband banned me from using the wooden stool. And what I'm doing right now is I photograph my Project Life spreads on our bed. In our bedroom, that is where we get the best light in our place, because I live in an apartment, so our place is pretty small. So the only place that I can take my Project Life spreads will be in my bedroom on the bed. So yeah, the light source coming in from the window is the best in the house. So yeah, I've stopped taking pictures on the floor now.
So are you taking them on a table now?
And no, it's still on the bed.
Oh, on the bed.
Correct. So I place my spreads on the bed with the 2 pieces of huge white art paper, and then I will place my PL spreads on the paper, and then I will take from top down. So I will stand over on my bed.
Do you actually stand on the bed?
Yes, correct.
It doesn't make the pages.
It's softer if she falls down.
No, because
right.
The bed is the mattress is hard actually. I didn't get those kind of soft kind of mattress. So the bed is actually pretty hard. So it's very firm. So it doesn't go left or right, or it doesn't wobble when I stand over my bed. So it's pretty stable actually.
Huh. So, Allie, how does that compare to how you do it?
So what we're doing, we have this table, right? This white table that we just kind of keep nothing on it and then use it to shoot projects. And I usually do everything. I still keep it in the page protectors, and we shoot in the page protectors. And sometimes I do it, and sometimes Katie does it. And we, like I said, either stand on the chair, or I don't stand on the chair. Or we have a stool too, but I need to watch out for those occupational hazards of falling for sure. But it's next to a window, so we're getting light from the window. And that's where I was saying that there's definitely certain times of the day. It's kind of a midday thing is when it works the best based on the light coming in from the window. Sometimes it would be too bright. Sometimes it's too gray if you wait too long in the day. But I take pictures of both, everything all together as a spread, and then I do each one individually, and then I usually do a couple of close-ups. And I did a post about that too, and I think I was wondering if Lena did a post about her process too. I feel like maybe I saw that, or maybe it was somebody else. But I'll send you a link to the post that I did that kind of shows pictures of where I'm standing and that sort of thing. The biggest thing that I learned just recently, and one of the issues that I was having, and I thought at first maybe it was my lens, which I'm shooting these with a 24-70 Canon lens, which is the same lens that I use all the time. But it was the aperture, I think it's the aperture was set at 2.8, which is what I like it for generally. But that's where I was getting all these blurred edges. So the far edges are too blurry, and then make the journaling blurry, and then I would get mad. And I thought that I had dropped this lens and had it repaired previously, and I thought maybe that was what it had to do. But when my friend Paulo was here recently, he helped me to see that I just needed to change that setting. So we've just bumped that up to 6.3 or what, in the 4s or whatever, made that higher, and then adjusted the settings. We shoot manual these days, so we just adjusted the rest of the settings around that, and that seems to have fixed that issue.
So just a comment on that. That's interesting. And what I've always heard, I you know what? I don't know if I've ever had this verified anywhere, but what I've always heard is with photography, every lens has basically a sweet spot, and almost always the best, crispest, best image that lens can produce is usually 1 or 2 f-stops away from being wide open.
Interesting.
So if it goes down to like 2.8, then the f4 might be a better f-stop. I mean, I like to shoot wide open, but yeah, I understand if you have like blurry edges around the edges, maybe that could be as a result of it. I also know that it could become too blurry if you close it down too much. Like, you know, if you close it down to f16, you could produce more of a blurry, it's not as sharp of an image overall.
Yeah, and what happens to me is I start getting really confused. Like, I know enough to be dangerous, I think is what happens. You know ugh to like move things around, and then I just start going and like Lena was saying, I've been reading more about photography, trying to learn a little bit more concretely about manual photography so that I am more knowledgeable when I'm changing one thing to actually know what's happening to be able to change something else. But I'm still like on that edge of where, like, I think Izzy, I've probably emailed you before and been like, okay, what am I doing? Or, give me some other tip on what could be wrong with this. And that was kind of how, besides Paulo being here, but I also did some research because I was about ready to buy a new lens. And then I was like, okay, before I shell out, $1,000 for another lens, is this a user error?
Yeah, thank goodness.
Paulo's like, and my fee is only 20%.
Yeah.
Well, he saved you, a bit of money. That's funny. No, I found that for me, 4.5, if I'm shooting layouts or Project Life, 4.5 aperture or f-stop is good. But then if I want the depth of field,
why is that good?
Because I get everything in focus.
So in other words, not everything is exactly the same distance from the lens, right? So, but if you want it all to be in focus, then having a little bit of a higher f-stop, like 4.5,
and then I can still get a little bit of light in there. But then if I'm going to do something like Debbie, something. Well, let me back up. If I want to shoot close-ups though, then I will lower the f-stop. So then I get a little more. In that case, I do want some of the blur around the edges,
That's what I do too.
Yeah. So if I'm doing the full page, I do 4.5 typically. And then if I'm trying to get a close-up, I'll do a lower f-stop. Or if I'm doing something like Debbie, where it's three-dimensional. I mean, not three-dimensional. It's like a card or some kind of a project where I want background. Then I can lower the f-stop too. Debbie, what f-stop do you typically do for your cards? Do you know?
Roughly about 5.6.
Oh,
sometimes
you do
I can knock it down to 4.5.
Okay.
But I've got two lenses that I like to use, and one of them's only an f4, and the other one's a 1.4. So depending on which lens I've got on there, it depends on how low I take it or how open I take it. But yeah, I think today I was 4 or 4.5, but quite often it can go up to 5.6. But I use because I've got I suppose distance to work with as well. I can create the blur by putting things further away from each other.
Yeah.
So I tend to use that. I tend to have some of my foreground elements quite a long way from the background, and then I can get the detail on the card and yet still have the blurry background.
Lena, do you what f-stop do you use?
I used to have the same problem as Ali when I set my aperture at about 2.8, So I get very blurry edges on my Project Life spread. So now I've changed it up to between 4 to 5. And then I set my shutter speed at around 400 because I have a very good light source next to the window in my bedroom. So it's a lot better now. So when I take the full spread, I will use my 28-135 lens. When I get down to close-up shots, I will switch to my 50mm lens actually. And I still like the close-up shots to be focus on some of the embellishments and the rest. The depth of field will be a lower.
Yeah. I also have a funny story about how I figured out 4.5 works for me is when I first started sharing my layouts, it was at the same time that I submitted to CK's Hall of Fame contest way back then, and so I had I think it was 10 scrapbook pages we were supposed to submit, something like that. So I had all 10 of my pages done, and it was, close to submitting, and I wasn't really sure what the best settings were. So instead of trying a couple and figuring it out, I with every single Hall of Fame layout, like whatever, I think it was 10, I took like 10 photos each with different settings for each one. And I did for every single layout rather than like trying a couple.
I used to do that.
Did you?
I used to do that too, yes.
So this layout would have like 10 different versions with, 5.0, and
you're a scientist to the core,
oh my
Noelle.
gosh. But by the time I was done, I couldn't see because I'd been looking through that lens, like my eyes were killing me. Everything was blurry. And then I was like, oh my gosh, now I have to deal with these hundreds of images of these layouts. Anyway, but I did figure out my sweet spot pretty quickly. So. Yeah.
So you get that, everybody listening to this? Noelle did the work so you don't have to. Right. She lost her eyesight temporarily.
It was painful.
My eyesight's pretty dodgy. Nowadays, I actually connect my camera to my laptop half the time, so I don't actually have to look at the teeny tiny screen.
Oh,
that's smart.
Let the photograph pop up on my laptop screen, which helps me hugely.
So you have your camera connected to your laptop. I've never done that. That's smart.
You should do that. That's smart,
yeah,
Noelle.
because I have noticed that I'm like, oh shoot, this is becoming a problem. My eyesight's starting to go.
Yeah, I definitely it definitely helps me. Mine's gone. Well gone.
I noticed the layouts are kind of blurry around the edges. Oh wait, that's just my vision. That's my eyes. Paulo, fix that.
I think I'm having that same problem. For the past couple of months, I always find my shots through the camera, it looks fine. But when I upload it to my laptop, it looks blurry. And then I had my eyesight checked, and I realized that I have to make a progressive glasses.
Oh,
so
no.
It's actually not the camera; it's actually my eyesight.
Do you have your glasses on when you shoot your pictures now?
No, but I would take a couple of shots for each each page, and then I will upload it, and I will take a look at it. If it, I think one of it will turn out fine.
Okay,
so, yeah.
That's totally what we do.
Yeah. Okay, so a few of the problems that I've seen with people's images that maybe we can help with is the angle of the layout, or the angle of the shot on the layout. Like it'll be tilted, or maybe the bottom corners are square with the photo, but then the top corners, you see all this side and it gets wider and wider as you get to the top. You know what I'm talking about?
It really helps to be watching Noelle right now because she's doing a lot of hand gestures to kind of illustrate what she's teasing. Noelle, are you talking about like angled away from the camera or angled to the left or right kind of thing?
Or that it's warped.
Either. It's warped. So what's happening is
a keystoning effect.
Is you need to be square. Your camera and yourself needs to be square with the layout, or you get a bit of it's like what she's saying. It's warped. It's at a slight angle, and so you get maybe wide margins from the layout, the edge of the layout to the edge of the picture, on maybe the top or the bottom or just one corner. That means you're not square. So how do you guys get yourself square to your project?
Well, if I'm taking an overhead shot, I don't take many, but if I do, it really is sort of standing with your feet wide apart in my case, and just making sure that you feel like the camera is on the right angle, that it's level, on the same plane as as what you're photographing, and really trying to make sure it's lined up square as you can. That's the only thing I do.
That's, pretty much me too. I get into this stance and I'm like, okay, make sure my feet are even with this. Yes. Yeah, try. And I never have it quite perfect. What's that, Debbie?
Make sure your feet are out the shot.
Yes. I never have it quite perfect. I always have a slight angle to it still, no matter what. Or I tend to lean one way a little bit more, like to the right or the left. I'm not sure which. Allie, is that something you're good at?
Well, yeah. Sometimes it's off though. And usually, depending on how far off it is, it's something that I can fix in aperture. Like I'll just, what am I trying to say? Make it straight. Because for me, usually the problem would be that it would be like tilted to, it's like tilted. This is a really hard concept to talk about.
Yeah.
That it would be like tilting one side or the other, and then I can just level it off in aperture. But I think mainly for me, it's just trying to make sure that that the camera's straight down. And you can't always feel that with your body. So you got to be thinking about how is your body? How are you holding your head? You know, is the, and you can do that kind of by holding your hands out instead of putting your face through the, in looking through the viewfinder. You could just hold your camera out, which is going to be kind of shaky, but even just to see, like, what do your hands look like? Are you tipping it forward? Are you tipping it backward? What does it feel like if to actually hold it straight down? But yeah, those are all things that, I mean, we think about it and talk about it all the time. I know that Katie, sometimes she feels like when she's standing up on the chair to keep her balance, she kind of leans forward and then she leans down. So it ends up that the bottom looks like it's coming forward in the picture and that the top part of the picture is receding into the background. So we talk about it and try to figure it out. And,
Yeah.
I think it's a common thing too. Practice. It's kind of practice.
One thing,
or put it on a tripod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are some tripods that point straight down.
That will go straight down?
Yeah.
That would be nice.
We don't own any like that, Noelle, but
We don't? Oh, that would be really nice. What were you going to say, Debbie?
I was going to say, you can turn on the grid on the viewfinder. I sometimes find that helps. So you've actually got straight lines to look at and then try and line up your project so that along with the lines, that helps me sometimes.
That's a good idea. Oh.
Because certainly you can actually sort of set in the settings of the camera. You can actually have either a rule of thirds grid, or you can actually have it a much more complicated grid that you can then line things up a bit better.
Yeah, I'll have to look at my camera. Everybody's going to be checking their cameras now.
Let's
Figure out
get
how to do
those
that.
handles down.
I tend to line mine up with the top of the frame and the side of the frame because it always actually shoots a little bit more than that, like just a little bit. So if I line the top and the side with the top and the side of a layout, especially the top, mostly the top, that helps me too, because then it actually takes a little bit more. But I like that idea of the grid. Need to try that. I mean, I think it really does, taking the time, and I still, even, I mean, I've been shooting photos of my layouts for years and years now, but I still really evaluate, okay, am I over my photo? Am I over the layout enough? Am I square to it? I like brace now this is the opposite of what you do, Ali, but I tend to brace my arms to my body. I'm gonna have to try your method. But then I try to take
yeah, go ahead. You're going to be more stable, and I'm just more talking about, like, if you're having a problem with it, to even feel like, what does it feel like to have, like, don't actually, I mean, you could shoot it that way, holding it out, but most people aren't steady enough to actually hold it steady. But for me, it's more of like, actually, what does it feel like? What position do my hands need to be in?
So holding it out just to check.
Yeah, holding it out just to check is what I mean. Yeah,
okay, that makes sense. But then I'll like have to tell myself I have to take a breath so I'm not tense too. So you don't want to shake the camera as you're taking it. If you're too tense, then you can shake the camera. So I'm like, okay, am I steady? Am I steady with my feet and my arms? And then take a breath and take the picture. Yeah. Okay, let's see. I think we had a couple other things I wanted. Oh, let's talk about editing one other thing too, as I recommend to the audience, is to let more light in. And a lot of times people take them too dark. So let a lot more light in, lower whatever settings you need to, or get in the sun more or something. But okay, so for post-processing, what do you guys like to do after you've taken it and you're cleaning it up to put it online? Lena, what do you do to yours?
Okay. I try to keep the editing process as short as possible. So what I usually do is, when I photograph my project live, I will usually overexpose it a little bit, and then when I get it fixed at the Photoshop, I would just tweak on the exposure, darken it a little bit, and pump up the contrast a little bit. And then the last process I do is adjust the color balance. It depends on the time of the day that I photograph my spreads. If it's too blue or if it's too warm, then I would make the final adjustment on the color balance.
Okay.
Other than that, I will leave it as it is.
Okay. You don't boost up the vibrancy or the saturation or anything like that?
No, saturation. No, I don't really touch on the saturation. So it's only the exposure and the contrast, and also a little bit of the color balance.
Okay. Yeah. Debbie, what about you?
Well, I usually start off by straightening the horizon, because even when it's on a tripod, I must have wonky eyes. So I normally do that. I crop square because it's easy for Instagram, and I'm posting online. And generally, I'm using Lightroom. So there's a bunch of little sliders that you get to play with, and I just can't help fiddling with them a bit. They're there, and it's just a bit like a child when they're on their iPad and they're gushing each other's faces into weird shapes and everything. You've got sliders, you tend to move them. So I boost the contrast a little bit, and sort of whiten the whites and blacken the blacks, and it's over in a matter of seconds. It's a very easy program to use. And then I sharpen, because I take my pictures in RAW. They come out, they're not sharpened at all. So I sharpen, and then that's it, really. But it's those sliders. They're so good.
I know. The sliders make it so easy.
Yeah, they do. And it's so straightforward. It's like left, you get one effect, and right, you get the opposite.
Yeah.
And it's very, I used to use Photoshop, but I'm a recent convert to Lightroom.
Nice.
Makes it very easy.
Ali, do you do much post-processing?
Not a lot. I think probably more on projects than I do in shooting regular pictures. I don't know if that's really true or not. It kind of feels like that sometimes. But mainly we, try really hard to get as, sometimes probably overexposed a little bit, trying to get brighter in the camera itself. But then if I, still sometimes it's gray, or it's, still too dark or whatever, because we want to keep the details, that kind of thing. So if I do anything, usually for me, I do it more often in Photoshop, because that's still just part of the process that I've done all along, even though I could do some of it in Aperture, which I have something to say about that in a minute too. But usually what I adjust is the levels and the curves are the two that I would do anything with, and maybe contrast if when I do the curves it makes it too uncontrasty. But I'm kind of thinking about switching to Lightroom. That's something that's been on my radar recently too, and I don't know if you guys heard this, but Aaron read something that Apple, they're not going to be creating any more updates for Aperture, doing any additional things for that, like in their next operating system update or whatever. It's just going to be photo.
Yeah. I think
so.
I've heard that.
I just read that a couple weeks ago. So I think I'm probably going to switch to Lightroom, and I don't know yet. Like, do you guys use Lightroom too as photo management?
I do. Yes.
Yeah. So you have folders or whatever in there.
Yeah.
It's pretty much, it uses the folder system I used to use anyway, which, I set mine through year, month, and then I label everything according to a name that I recognize. And Lightroom just works with whatever system you use, and all it's doing really is keeping track of where your pictures are and applying the adjustments. And they're, what do they call it? It's non-destructive. That's the wording I'm thinking of. That any adjustments you make, it's they're just keys for what Lightroom should do to it. It doesn't actually affect the original photograph.
Yeah.
So I really like Lightroom.
Aperture does that too, but and that's what I've been using, Ali. But looks like I might have to switch to Lightroom too. And I think Aperture and Lightroom are the cllosest two things to each other.
Yeah, that's kind of that's what I figured. And I'm on board with Creative Cloud. Like, I got all my other programs on there now, so I can just get that from there. But
Heads up, Ali. When I switched, when the Apple announcement came out about Aperture, I switched to Lightroom within a couple days. Yeah. And the folks in the forums, in the paperclipping forums, had some good resources. So I went and watched like videos and training, and it took me like not even a day really to get up and running with Lightroom. Okay, cool. And it can do everything that I used to do in Aperture, and then also some additional stuff that's awesome that Aperture couldn't do.
That's kind of what I thought. Yeah. And I talked to somebody, when I went to the blogging conference, I was talking to a couple people there, and they were telling me some other things that I don't remember what they were, but it was some other positive things about it. So I have a general positive sense about what that transition would be like. So.
It might be slightly harder for Ali and me to switch over, because we use Aperture a ton, and you've really only kind of fiddled with it.
Right.
So I think it'll be a bigger adjustment for us because we'll be used to doing things one way. But I've heard I mean, lately Aperture's been a bit frustrating because they haven't been working on it.
It's got some bugs.
Yes, it's created some bugs. For me, it's interesting. I don't know if you do this too, Debbie, because you didn't mention it, but both Lena and Allie said they do this, and I do this, is I also make the exposure when I'm shooting my photos of my stuff. I make the exposure a little bit higher than the what the camera says, because it's just never bright enough. And that's, again, a common thing is when people's don't like their images of their layouts. It's one of the reasons I think is it's just not bright enough. So I definitely would say bump up the light a little bit.
Yeah, I remember I was doing some reading around, and I think what it comes down to is that so much of what we do is a white background, and the camera is always trying to make everything to be a normal gray or whatever the color the color of the description is they use. So the camera sees this white background and thinks, oh no, that's way too way too bright, and it brings it down to be darker, whereas in fact we actually want them to be lighter. So the ping moment for me was when I actually found that exposure compensation on my camera, and yes, I tend to bump mine up to sort of at least level 1 above normal.
One of the things I want to learn about that I've read a couple places online where people are talking about the gray cast, and I don't know if this is related to what you guys were just talking about, but I know sometimes with me, even if when we look at it, I look at it in Aperture, I look at it in Photoshop, it looks bright white. Then when I upload it online, it gets this gray cast.
I had the same problem, Ellie.
Me too.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I don't know. And I read at some point somebody had a blog post that within our industry that was talking about it, and they had a solution, but then I of course didn't save it, or I don't know what happened to that. But somebody was talking about something specific to do, and I don't know that it was related to an RGB thing or an sRGB thing. I can't remember exactly. So I got to do some more research on that. But I feel like that's an issue also, that something with the way that the internet handles these photos, it's not, and then and maybe it's even just the detail, like the smaller images. So then when you click to view the larger image, sometimes it looks right. That the color is correct in the larger image, but it doesn't look correct in whatever the smaller preview images are that they're showing.
I
don't know. I think I remember reading it somewhere. I think the setting on your camera, they have the Adobe and RGB. So if you set it at Adobe, and it will turn out a little bit better. So I switched from RGB to the Adobe actually about a year ago, and it turned out a little bit better.
Lena, what are you saying to switch it to?
Yeah, it's on this camera. You have this setting. I really can't remember. There's actually a setting for you to. You can select either. Oh my gosh, I really can't remember. You have to switch it to. You have to go to your menu, and then there's this setting on. You can choose RGB or Adobe, something like that. So I made a switch to Adobe, and then it turned out a lot better than when I used to use RGB.
Adobe sRGB.
Adobe
yes,
sRGB. So is that good for taking regular photos of people too, or is that just better for?
Yes.
Huh. Izzy, is that something we can play with?
Well, you know what? So I'm looking. I got mine out right now to look at it, and this is on a Canon, and it's color space is what the thing is, and the options I have on mine are either sRGB or Adobe RGB.
Yes, correct. I think that's the color space
it?
that.
Maybe I'll try it and see.
Yeah, I want to try that. That is frustrating when you get it just right, and then you put it up online, and you're like, "What?" And then so I end up going back, and it's really because I hate. Yeah. I want my whites white.
Like yes.
Yeah. So I go back and like brighten it up even more. I don't play with the contrast like you guys do. I use levels, so I'm kind of worried about Lightroom maybe not having levels because I like to.
Oh, I'm sure it must.
I hope so.
It must because it's an Adobe product and Photoshop has levels. It's got levels.
Okay, so yeah, it has levels, and I pulled up this article real quick about sRGB and Adobe RGB. And what it's saying here is definitely use sRGB. It's the world standard for digital images, printing, and the internet. So long as you haven't screwed with anything, you and the world are shooting in sRGB. use sRGB and you'll get great accurate colors everywhere all the time.
So, is that what she's saying? The Adobe sRGB?
And then she says, and then it says here in the article, Adobe RGB squeezes colors into a smaller range, making them duller before recording them to your file. So stick with sRGB. I just tested that real quick. I just want to look it up to make sure because it's a better color space.
I think I remember now. I read it at Karen Russell. It's in a blog. I read it like about a year ago about switching to the color space of Adobe Pen. But when you upload it to your laptop, or when I open my images in Photoshop, I think I upload it in sRGB. I think that was what she was mentioning in her blog.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sounds like we just need to test it out. Do some tests.
See what we like, what works.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that is it. Unless anybody has some awesome tip that it just didn't get it fit in, jump in now, because I think we're going to move on. Hopefully people got some things they can try if they're not satisfied with the photos. Because it is kind of a bummer that we can't actually physically look at each other's layouts, and it's such a different experience. So it is good if you can to capture as best you can. But I think it's nice to know too that people that share beautiful projects online, like these ladies do, that it's still not perfect. You're not the only one. It's a struggle. No. Yeah, it's a
Never
struggle.
happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay, Izzy, do you want to take a moment and share your special moment?
There
Are you waiting
go.
for that?
I was waiting
take
for
your special moment.
Where's my cue? Izzy's special moment. So this is the part where we talk about paper clipping itself. Of course, you're listening to the Paperclipping Roundtable, the audio show, but it's not the only thing that we do. We also have the Paperclipping membership, and that is the main thing that we do. So if you want to check it out, basically what you do is you go to paperclipping.com/membership. You can learn about what's included. The essence is it's a large video library, humongous, 247 videos as of this recording. The last video was about ideas to use your 3x4 Project Life cards, because come on, if you're using Project Life, you probably got some extra 3x4 cards lying around. I mean, I only do a little bit of Project Life, and I know that I run out of 4x6 cards quite quickly, and the 3x4s, I could surface my walls with them. You know,
yes.
There's quite a few, and yes, you have choices. You have the front side, you have the back side, but you need to use up those 3x4 cards. So Noelle, in her experience, had come up with some good ways to use them. Not only extra 3x4 cards in Project Life itself, but also on standard traditional type of layout. She has ideas for that, and that's what this whole video is all about. And that's just one video, and there's 247 videos right now in the membership library. Go check it out. So paperclipping.com/membership is where you can learn more. And of course, the members are what make everything that we do here, including this show, possible. So we thank you so much for being members. We love you. You learn more at paperclipping.com/membership. Thank you.
Thank you, Izzy. All right, let's do our picks of the week, and we'll start with Allie. What is your pick for the week,
Okay,
Allie?
so my pick this week is the new line from Maggie Holmes, which is called Book Club, I think is the name of it. You guys know this one?
No.
Okay, it's super cute. The link I sent to Izzy is to her blog where you can read about the new line. But it's really a line that's rooted in storytelling, which, as we know, this is something that I like quite a bit. A lot of sentiments that I like to use, stuff about story and your story and those sorts of things. Cute. Cute's not even the right word for it. It's just a really lovely collection. And one of the things that I saw today that I really liked is there's some vellum pieces that are in one of the ephemera packs that have I don't know who, they had somebody do handwriting for it. I don't know who actually did the handwriting, but these vellum pieces that are like die cut vellum pieces of handwriting printed on the vellum.
Huh.
So the actual words aren't die cut, but like around the outside of the phrase or whatever, they just looked really cool. So
I haven't seen this. I'm kind of seeing Izzy scrolling through some little bits.
Yeah, there's a lot of flowers, which I don't always use the flowers that much, but I thought that the sentiments and the overall look of it were really nice.
So it's called, is it called Open Book or Book
Open
Club?
Book. Sorry, I
Okay.
said Book Club. Yeah, that's what I knew I was going to screw it up, and I couldn't click over there fast enough. Yeah.
I was like looking for
Open
it.
Book.
Okay.
Sorry, Maggie. Yeah.
You could just call her Holmes.
Sorry, Holmes. Yeah.
Is there? It looks like there's some gold glitter cut out
those
layer.
gold glitter
letters.
words too.
Pretty.
That look like they're. Yeah, those look amazing.
Yeah, I like those. I haven't seen what the words are though.
Well, I know there was a hello, and let's see. I don't know. It was some other. Hang on, I'm getting on there right now.
Izzy's close, but he's not quite there. He's looking at something very intensely, so I can't see what the words
hang
are.
on just a second. I don't. The words on the glitter words are like love, you, this, us, is, me, friend, happy, document, story.
Okay.
Yeah. They're cool.
Nice. All right. Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
How about Debbie? What's your pick, Debbie?
Well, I went for a photography one, and I thought about this guy on Instagram called Brandon Harvey, and he takes the most really engaging photographs. He's been all over the world. He seems to be doing most of it with his iPhone, but he takes an SLR with him as well. And he does what is called these story portraits. So he'll be taking a picture of somebody, and for a start, it's a lovely picture. And then in some really simple words, he just tells a little story about them, a little bit about them. And I just love seeing that come into my Instagram feed. I find it really inspiring and beautiful to look at too. So he's quite a young guy.
I follow him too. He's awesome.
Yeah, I just love the connection he has with the people that he photographs.
Oh, because that shows up in the photo, right? You feel that connection, and
it shows in the photo, but I think the combination with the words that he uses as well. Sometimes it's just a couple of sentences, but other time he does these story portraits. I think he hashtags it story portrait, and you really get the sense of the person. And he's been all over the world taking pictures, and he'll say, "Oh, here's my friend Wes," and and then he'll tell you a little about the person, and you really connect with them. It's a really good, really sort of awe-inspiring feeling. Yeah.
What's his name? I don't know him. What's his name again?
Brandon Harvey.
Brandon Harvey. Okay.
I found it.
BRANDEN. Yeah.
Oh, Ian.
He's based out of Portland too.
Oh.
The photos here are
I don't
gorgeous.
know him, but yeah,
my
he's a good
gosh.
photographer.
They are not smartphone photos. There's no way.
An awful lot of them are, I think. I mean, he does some amazing things. I mean, I have to have my decent camera. I take my decent camera with me everywhere. But this guy, he's there taking. I think he has his SLR camera as well. But most of it he does with his iPhone, and he gets the most amazing shots.
You're saying most of them are from his iPhone?
These are the most amazing iPhone photos ever. Seriously. Amazing.
I mean, he'll put he put his phone into a waterproof casing. Sometimes I've seen some of those, and he's got some shots from the water level and all sorts. Yeah, they're really good.
Wow, nice. All right, so how about Lena? What's your pick?
I'm actually a big fan of Polaroid cameras. So I have quite a number of collections of vintage Polaroid cameras, and my most recent purchase is the Fuji Instax Mini 90 New Classic camera. So, but the problem is, sometimes when I'm out with friends and, I can just take one shot, and if I have 5 of them having dinner with me, and then I have to, take another 4 shots.
Yeah,
I did was, correct. So what I did was, about a couple of months ago, I decided to take the plunge and invested in Instax, Fuji Instax printer. It's a Polaroid printer. I'm not sure whether you've heard of it or you've seen it on the blogs, or I think Amy Tangerine has one as well, and Geraldine Tsai, and So this Polaroid printer is actually you can connect it to your smartphone, your iPhone. So what you need to do is just download the apps and from the App Store, and then you can upload your picture from your camera roll, and you can print the same picture in 10 shots, and you can give it away to friends. That's what I like about this printer. So
I have it on my wish list.
Oh, okay.
I
Ali
just
wants
added
it.
it to my wish list. This is awesome. How big
It's
is
on
it?
my wish
Does
list,
it
yeah.
is it small enough to fit?
It's okay. I have it right now here with me. It's actually, if I open up my hand, it's actually the size of my hand.
Do you have
it's
big
actually
hands or
very
small hands?
portable. I
It's
have very small
small.
hands.
It's
She's
small.
Asian and she's got small hands.
So it could be that Noelle, you wouldn't have to be responsible for carrying ours around. It could be that.
What?
Well, because if it's too big to fit in my
You don't
pocket or
wanna-
something, you know what I'm saying? But this is cool. It turns your smartphone into a Polaroid camera.
Yeah.
You see?
We use,
So
I
instant
think
It's very portable. It's very portable. It's very light, and it actually loads the regular Instax Mini film.
So I thought same film.
So yes, but the only thing you need to take note of is when it prints, it's a little bit overexposed.
Okay.
So sometimes if you need to do some editing on the phone before you print these pictures, you probably have to bring down the brightness and the contrast. Pump up a little bit of the contrast, then I think the print will be all right.
It says Wi-Fi printing. Do you have to have a Wi-Fi network going in order to use it, or can you connect through Bluetooth, or could you be at a restaurant somewhere with no Wi-Fi at all and use it? Or no?
No, actually, you just have to turn on your Wi-Fi setting
On the
Oh,
phone.
on the phone,
And
make a hotspot.
on the phone,
Hotspot,
and then
yeah.
you turn on the printer, and then it will detect. And then you just need to connect, and then you'll be able to print.
Cool.
It's pretty easy and very accessible, and I bring it along on holidays. I don't bring my SLR on holidays anymore, so I usually use my iPhone to take pictures of my holiday, and then I will print it directly out using the this Instax Print Share printer.
It's how big are the little Polaroid pictures?
It's the same as the one that you use on the Polaroid cameras. So it is probably about smaller than 3x4. I think
Okay.
so. It's actually the regular Instax film.
Angie Tangerine or
Amy?
Tangerine gave us some of those when we were at CHA, and they're
Okay.
just adorable.
Those
I
cute
love
little
them.
ones.
My question: does anybody know how long those photos last?
Oh.
Does anybody know that?
Do they fade?
No.
I have some that are from, oh man, what year would that be? I think when I went to Greece, which would have been 2010. That's 4 years old, and they all still look good.
They've made it
not
4
very
years.
long, but yeah.
That's
They're
funny.
still decent.
Even if it's just fun stuff, like I wanted to go around my yard and take some Polaroid type shots of my plants and make a journal, of my garden, my planting and stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't matter if they last longer than 4 years.
Yeah.
But it depends, I guess, on what you're using it for. It'd be interesting, Izzy, if you can find that out. Okay. Thank you for your pick. I'm going to do my pick. Izzy, you had a question?
I want that pic. I want that
Yeah.
Polaroid printer. That's awesome.
Cool.
Do you have one of the cameras, Izzy?
No.
One of the Instax cameras? No.
Yeah, they seem interesting. I mean, I think that's what Amy Tangerine was using at CHA. It was one of those.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you have one of those?
Oh yeah, and that's what I mean. I've had it for 4 or 5 years now. That I like to use them for travel more than anything, because the cameras themselves, they are hard to get correct lighting. Like it's for me, I've always liked it more when it was shooting outside travel pictures. Those kind of things that I liked it for the best. But having the ability to print that size, which is a cute, fun little size, from photos you take on your phone, I think is really what's attractive about that printer, where you'd have more control over, you'd have a better guess, just like Lena said, where she knows now, she just can adjust the contrast or whatever on her phone, and then she's going to get closer to what she thinks it's going to be printing out with the printer. Whereas with the camera, it's more of a crapshoot, I think.
To me, it seems like the perfect thing to have at a party too. You take that printer
Totally.
to a party and you say,
Oh,
okay, everybody
yes,
download
yes,
this app.
yes.
And then
That's right.
everybody's taking photos of each other and printing photos. And
Oh,
that
and
seems
everybody can just
awesome.
download the app and then use your printer? Oh,
Wouldn't that be
fun.
awesome? So you have
Yeah.
a printer party.
A photo party,
Totally
printer
do it.
party. Cool.
The just so you know too that I wouldn't call the paper, what gets printed, it's not cheap either. I mean, it used to be about $1 a picture
Per photo.
So I don't know that if it's like that. I mean, I'm just saying it just so people know in advance. Like, you can go on there and look, and maybe it's less than that now. It depends on where you get it. I don't know, Lena, if you've got.
I'm actually getting it at a place at a shop at this. It's just about 20 minutes drive from my place. I get it at about a pack is 10 pieces. Right? So a pack I got it for about $5.20.
Okay, yeah, the price has gone down then. That's good.
Yeah. So it's very reasonable now as compared to years ago. It's like about $1 or $1.20, you know.
Yeah.
So
okay, so let me rephrase it. It'd be great if somebody else brought one of those to a party.
Yeah.
That we can all use.
I can send you mine.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right, I'm going to do my pick of the week. For many years now, I've used American Craft albums, and I finally tried a couple We Are Memory Keepers albums for the first time, and I liked them. But what really surprised me is they're taller than the American Craft album, and so you have a little more space between the tops and bottoms of your layouts and the actual top of the album, which is really nice, and I think it's better for the pages. But also there's some really beautiful ones. I like the designer albums. So they have, like, I see currently 6 designer albums. They're kind of fun. They might be too funky and colorful for some people, but my favorite one is Wallflower, and that's the one I purchased. That's part of this designer albums. But and the Wallflower is kind of an aqua turquoise with a yellowy cream combination, and the aqua turquoise is like a faux suede, and then that yellowy creamish part of it has like oh gosh, how do I explain this? It's kind of got a two-tone design on it, so these sort of I don't even know how to explain it. I'm not even going to try to. They're a good solid album. They feel sturdy. They're really good quality. Of the 2 that I've bought so far, they're well made, so they don't have any weird stuff on it. Like, I've got a lot of albums not from them where there's glue showing through the cloth or black ink on the front cover or things like that. And these they're just so nice and solid and good quality. So I guess I'm picking the designer albums from We Are Memory Keepers. Like I said, there's 6 different versions. They're very different from each other. Some are more bright and flashy than others, but my favorite one is the Wallflower. And the only thing I have a hard time with is Izzy and I both ran into a problem with this. It's got the metal plate on the spine, which is great because you can put your little title in there, but then if you just be careful on a wooden table or something, you don't want to scratch your table, which they will do.
Yeah, it's sort of like one of those tools that you use to smooth out a wooden surface. You just scrape it along and it just shaves off wood. That's it. Seriously, it totally did that to our table, believe it or not. So,
and yours was
just be careful.
Yeah, yours was anyway. So you just put something underneath it if you want to lay your album out. All right, that's it. Let's go around the table and let people know where they can find you. We'll start with Allie. Where can people find you?
People can find me at allieedwards.com. And like I said, if you haven't been there for a while, it looks totally different than it used to look. So come on over and check it out. Right now, the main thing is the pre-order for the story stamp kits. And then, like I said, in the beginning of September, there will be a shop with products that I've designed and then some products from other companies of things that I really like, along with a classroom. So I'll have a new class available for pre-order at that time.
So if somebody once that subscription is, how do I even word this, Allie?
I know.
Like, somebody can't jump on last minute and say, oh, I want to be part of this class. They have to have signed up for the whole kit, right?
Yeah, well, yes, for the subscription, we're not doing it like, it's not going to be one of those things where there's like how Studio Calico does their sneak peeks and then a big reveal. Like, it's not going to have the same fanfare as that. We're just going to, it will be available on the 15th. People can still purchase it until, you know, we have a quantity. So if it runs out, then it wouldn't be available.
Okay.
But if there's still some available on the 15th, then people can purchase it and then they would have access. So we have, there's like a tiered of the subscription. You can subscribe month to month, or you can do a 6-month or a 12-month. And even the month to month, you know, you have, let's say you end up doing it for 2 months, you would still continue to have access to the classroom content for those 2 months, because each month is going to have its own background class area. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So even if you jumped on, let's say 6 months down the road, you see the stamp and you decide that you want the stamp, you know, you can buy, you know, sign up for that 1 month, and then have access to the educational content too.
Okay. Awesome.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. So
it looks great, Ellie.
Thank you.
Yeah. As long as there's some available, people can purchase it after the fact, after it's been gone
Yeah.
out.
And you know, we have, well, thank you. We have a certain number right now, and I think we'll see, like, if it becomes more popular, then we would probably order more, but we're, you know, trying to be responsible.
Right.
You know, and see how it goes. And I think that once people see actually what that background content is going to be, then that will make more sense in terms of what the price is and that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Debbie, where can people find you?
I'm blogging at limedoodledesign.com. That name was created sort of around the doodle aspect, which was my father's nickname for me, and my love of green. So there you are. That's me. That's limedoodledesign.com. And I'm on also the usual social media, Facebook and Twitter and such. But my favorite place other than my blogging is probably Instagram, and I'm there as Debbie Hughes.
All right. Thank you. And how about Lena? Where can people find you?
You can find me at my blog at findingnana.com. The Nana is not actually the grandma Nana. So it's actually a nickname given to me by my family. So they've been calling me, because my name Lena, so it ends with Na. So they just call me Nana. So that's how it comes about. So I can be found at Instagram as well. I'm pretty active in Instagram. So I post daily, and you can find it whenever I travel, and I'll post most of my pictures in Instagram.
All right.
I'm using the same username as well, Finding Nana.
Okay. Very good.
I'm actually relieved to hear that, because when I saw your username, I was like, oh, there's going to be a sad story about looking for grandma.
Aww.
You know, it's a relief to find.
A lot of people has been asking me about that. How does this came about? You know, the Finding Nana. So I've explained it, and you know they find it very funny.
Finding Nana to babysit, so you can do other stuff. Izzy, where can people find you?
People can find me at izzyvideo.com. I'm Izzy Video on Instagram, but really the place you can find me is going to be editing this audio and pulling out the little segments of Allie going and pulling those out so we can use them in future shows.
Her frustration sounds. You got those somewhere so we can find them easily?
Oh, they're recorded right in here, so we have to.
I'm always here for you, man. I'm always trying to give
you give me the best sound bites. I'll always appreciate that. Yes, thank you. No, and anyway, but please, if you're listening to this and you like the show, go give us 5 stars. I mean, they have other options too, but the only one that really matters is the 5 stars. So go give us 5 stars on the iTunes review. We'll have a link to the iTunes page where you can do that in the show notes for this episode. Go ahead, Noelle.
You can find me at paperclipping.com. We are in the middle of shooting another Paperclipping member video. We've got it partway done, and I am finishing up I'm working on putting together the layout at the end of the episode, so haven't done that part of it yet. That one's going to be having to do with the story that you've got going on through an album, and sometimes that's the stories that are going on as you start telling it changes dramatically, and then you got to figure out where you're going to go now with that story. If that doesn't make sense, it will in the video. Hopefully it will. That's it for today. I think we're done. So I guess we'll see you all next time. at the table.